Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Radio W.O.R.K.S World. This is your host speaking. My name is Agata, and I'm a mentor of excellence. And I will be speaking to a very precious, a wonderful lady who is Ysanne Lewis. Welcome, Ysanne.
Well, thank you, Agata. It's lovely to be speaking with you and to the listeners and to anyone listening Radio W.O.R.K.S World this morning. It's a beautiful day here in Guildford over my hills. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
And we are broadcasting from London live. And before we start our conversation, I'd like to point out that these conversations take part every Friday at 10 a.m. in the morning. So anyone who is interested to join, please leave a message below, connect via Facebook, or go on my website, www.agflow.co.uk. Now, for those who don't know you, Ysanne, who is Ysanne Lewis? Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, a little bit about me. How long is a piece of string, as we say? I tend to define myself, I think that's quite a good word, define myself as someone who's a very ordinary person. I think that's a very good thing to say, who's had an extraordinary life. It's not just because I've lived quite a few decades. I have almost like reincarnated myself several times over, not literally. But my life has taken many, many interesting byways, pathways, and like out of necessity sometimes by choice, I've reinvented myself. So I found that fascinating. From a little girl, I used to think, how can we be just one person? And being multifaceted has always appealed to me. I think the word freedom has always been the most important. For a long while, I thought freedom meant not having restraints. I wanted a lot of space. And then I realized that if we're free inside, no matter where we are, in a prison or wherever, then if we're free inside, we are free. So you get a lot of people saying, oh, I need my space, I need my freedom, but they're not free inside. So I learned that freedom to live my life, my own authenticity, follow my pathway and my purpose, which I always wanted to have a purpose, was very much in line with freedom, with curiosity. I believe curiosity keeps us youthful. I come from a family where quite a few of its members had great curiosity. A bit different to being nosy or something, but I wanted to see what's around the corner. And I think even through crises, that keeps us going very well. So who am I? I'm a lady who has had a fascinating life. Obviously never totally easy all the time. I've been self-employed for nearly 40 years now. I chose to be self-employed. And I always said it kind of chose me, my vocation. That's reinvented itself many, many times. Otherwise, I'd have got bored.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've lived in different countries. I have a great social network, good friends, family. I think it's something we have to work with, things like that. And I started off being incredibly shy when I was young.
I can identify with that.
Can you? And then somehow I realized underneath everybody's vulnerable. It's all a mask that we wear, like actors going on stage. And in fact, interesting, although I'm not a great actor, though I have acted, I'm not a great actor, that the great actors usually are very shy when you hear them interviewed. So I think I've learned that we're all vulnerable. And because at a young age, I did quite a lot of drama, music. I went on stage a lot in the 60s. From a young teenager, I think that helped me to overcome shyness and to be able to, as I do now, work with the public very well, particularly when I give talks, presentations. So what has kept me going in life? What defines me? Humour, curiosity, wanting freedom for myself and others, love, which I've had plenty of, and I hope I've given in return. Does that answer your question?
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic, because I remember when I was growing up, I couldn't speak in front of other people. My voice would just shut down. Nothing would come out. I would go really red and embarrassed. And I'm thinking, what is happening with me? Why can I not speak? And I've learned that thing that we feel we shouldn't be doing, in my case, speaking in public or speak in front of others, is exactly what I should be doing, because that's where the strength lies. That's where the power is that we carry within.
Yes, and if we have a message to give of any kind, however small or big, and small and big are very relative terms, I think it's important that we're here in life for a short while. We're doing time, as somebody once said, on planet Earth. Sometimes it feels like doing time, but generally it's a wonderful experience. And to put our most into it. And I also believe that we but it's good to be of service to others. But we often forget it's good to be of service to ourselves.
Absolutely. And since we have lots of guests joining us from different parts of the world, what would you say to anyone living in Australia, New Zealand, or United States? What do you mean by saying you are a multifaceted person? Because it is something that not many people identify with.
Okay, it's a good question. Thank you. I think unless one has a particular talent when one's young, and you're kind of driven that way by school or family, and again, that can be good or bad. I didn't have a particular talent, but I was interested in many, many things. I wanted to do many things. So when I was asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? I had no idea whatsoever. No idea. I wanted to be an explorer, but I wasn't physically that strong enough. I'm strong enough, but not that strong. And certainly I loved the outdoors. I was a real tomboy. And what I ended up doing, also with my love of the heavens, of maps, astronomy, the star lore, the stories, the mythologies, that I learned to be an explorer in a different way. So I was very determined before I went self-employed to have evenings, weekends where I could develop hobbies, at least dip into things. I did many, many things. And that's what I mean by multifaceted.
I'm glad you explained it, because oftentimes we are put off by doing different things and we think that we are not really good at it. And, I just speak for myself, not for others really, is that I did not let myself being stopped just because I'm not perfect, just because I don't do something exactly according to somebody else's view, does not mean that I'm not putting the best of me, into what I'm doing at the time. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's so important. And I think fear is a big barrier. I think some politician, believe it or not, once said that fear has never been a good advisor, or personally or collectively. And I think we're living in a time now where there is a lot of fear, quite, obviously, but a lot of that is coming from uncertainty. And humanity does not like uncertainty as a rule. No matter how adventurous we are, and I'm adventurous, I still think uncertainty doesn't sit easy. And when there's crises and when there's uncertainty and the unknown, and we live in a world where there's a lot of that now, where we feel out of control maybe, because fear and control are two sides of the same coin. You look at somebody who's very controlling, they're usually quite fearful inside.
That's very true.
And I think that when we feel like that, we need to get centered, to know that our destiny is purely our own. And that, I think Marina once said that there's only one you. Only one you. Nobody else can be you. And I think when we feel we've lost our center, we need to remember that phrase. It's beautiful, really, that the creator, if you like, gave us life.
Yeah.
And that when we're being creative with problems, not being a victim or blaming people. There's a lot of blame around at the moment, isn't there, in the world? I think when we're being creative, we're not just very alive, like children are, but we start to find our way through, and we're not reacting in the old ways.
Wow. Something just entered my awareness, and I am going to mention it. because you mentioned it, we are so quick to criticize, we are so quick to blame others, rather.
Yes.
Does it stem from the fact that we are made of atoms, and atoms are naturally negatively charged?
Oh, I'm not a physicist. I think that they all by negative ions, negative electrons, whatever, is very different to what we mean in a psychological sense. But that's a very interesting question. I will peruse that point.
And so,
very, very interesting. Yeah. But I think if we have that kind of feeling of, in a way, life doesn't owe us anything.
no.
Big statement, I know. It's too easy to be a victim. And codependency, we hear about that with things like addiction, but codependency can be things like victim rescuer, victim bully. One needs the other. Yes? So I think it's so important in the age we're living in now, the tests that surround us, not knowing quite what's around the corner next, is not to get into that blame mentality and not to feel we're just here to help other people, which, yes, we are. But by being more our own person, taking care of ourselves as well, I think it benefits the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It took me a long while to learn that one, you know, Agata, a long while.
And I think that learning will never stop. That's just something I accepted, you know, and I surrendered to that.
Yeah.
Not going to fight. But my next question would be, what events brought you to this stage of your life? I mean, I know that you are not only a lovely, most natural speaker, but you are also an author. So what brought you here where you are today? Tell us a little bit.
Well, the things I'm doing now. Yes. Yeah. I think, again, I remember writing and written an article for Quantum of Light, and I wrote in it when the question came up with the interview of, why did I choose what I'm doing, or what to my work, the timing advisor, as an astrologer, and like the same love and guidance which held my hand and encouraged me to explore life from an early age. There was a sense of guidance from some source, and I've always followed those paths, and I do feel I've been very guided. I only wanted to be an astrologer after training. That may or may not surprise you, for several years. It's certainly not the star sign columns you see in the papers and magazines. And I learned there were 2,500 variables, options in a birth chart for any moment, like the start of our session,
Really?
or a baby. Now, the art of it is to put it all together and to make it accessible and useful to, if you like, the client. And I was fascinated, absolutely fascinated by that, the map of the inner world, how it mirrored the maps of the heavens. But I honestly thought, Agata, I'd do it for about a year. But somehow it chose me. And quite quickly I was giving talks abroad, clients in different countries.
Wow.
You might say, why am I not a household name? Because I didn't do the route of doing, I'm not totally knocking them, but those star sign columns, whether you're a Leo or Taurus or Gemini or whatever. As I said, there's 2,500 variables on that moment of birth, the time of birth, the date, wow, and the longitude, latitude of birth, the town of birth. So because I had a background in drama, I have worked with theatre companies to help them to direct their own lives, their charts, look at the roles they're uncomfortable with and how they're mirrored in their own birth chart. So I went to Iceland and worked with a theatre company and got the director to cast, if you like, his players with the planets in his own chart. It was absolutely riveting. Wow. So because I also trained as a colour therapist, so I love to use colour. Because colour is something we can all use, and we don't understand it enough. We know what it does, but basically often the colours we don't like, psychologically, are the ones we need to bring out parts of us, which, like actors, which have got stage fright and they're not coming on stage. So somebody else is playing that part, or we draw to us people in life who act out those roles which we do not, whether it be our anger, our creativity, our dreamer, or whatever. So time went by and I've had wonderful, wonderful clients. I always say, if my life finished tomorrow, I feel that leaving finance and anything else aside, that's important in life, but the most important thing was a good reputation knowing I've helped people. I specialise more with timing because astrology is the queen of timing. We can always do everything, but it's like cluttering a stage with about 100 actors. It's not going to go down too well unless there's a crowd scene, which occasionally happens. So when is the right time? Our cues for coming on stage with ourselves, when to take a break. We don't pause enough. We don't take sabbaticals enough, even if they're for 5 minutes. And yet, at the same time, we know that we do not enjoy watching a dance or hear a piece of music if there aren't pauses, delays, and not delays, but pauses and breaks and quiet times. We know that. We don't always apply it to our own lives. So I've worked much, much more with timing. And people were starting to ask me when they came for their own personal reading. Well, I've got my own business, my consultancy. I said, oh, that's your baby. That's your baby. So let's look at its chart. When did you register it? Or when did you first sit down at the desk and start your first day?
Wow.
Look at the types of that. And then people would say, when is the best time for a startup or rebranding or webinar or whatever? So timing moved on. And then I had the absolute honour and pleasure of meeting Marie Nanani, W.O.R.K.S World, at an event in London called Inspired in Mayfair, and it's a place where people give talks. And she was there, and we really hit it off. And she said she'd love me to be the timing host for Radio W.O.R.K.S World. So I did many shows last year. I need to get back to them. And then she said, you know, we're a publishing company. Would you like to write a book? So I said, well, I've written many, many articles, many books unpublished. Yes, I would. And at the end of last year, I sat down and in 3 weeks, I wrote my first, well, I'd call it a draft, more than a draft, of The Time Catcher. How to time your actions to turn challenges into opportunities. So I'd never really wanted to write a sun sign book, star sign book. I didn't want to write for astrologers. But this all came about through talks I've given, my own experiences with clients, and with shows I did. So my baby, my book came about at the end of last year, which I was very honoured to receive an award for.
May I please show that up? Because I've got a copy of your book as well. Look, ooh, that's fantastic. The Time Catcher, How to Time Your Actions to Turn Challenges into Opportunities. Absolutely wonderful. I'm happy to have this book. Absolutely lovely.
Oh, so glad. And thank you very much for buying it. Yes, that's what I've done. And now I'm giving more talks. And I just love my work, Agata. I really love it. Above all, I love working with people.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think you'll agree with me. So what subject it's you yourself you're putting into it. You're the product, yeah?
Yeah. So what's your legacy out of all this that you've done? You've been such a great, you know, you've been a service to others. You've been such a great example to others. So what's your legacy?
One day, my legacy? That's a very lovely question. I love that word. When I was 14, I wanted a purpose in life. I think I found it. The legacy is that I know that my readings, I call them readings, exploration of people's birth charts, that moment the soul chose to come into form and the cycles and the pathways they followed, those readings are there for them forever. The book is there forever. It's in various libraries in the UK now, and it's there to, at the right time, again, timing, to be there for people to listen to read, to help them, and to know that hopefully I've made a small difference in people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel the energy that you are vibrating. It's amazing. So what's evolving in your life right now? So share with us something new. Share with us the news that needs to be shared.
It needs to be shared. I took a bit of a quieter time this year. I've been marketing my book, doing little talks like at independent bookshops. In fact, my book's in Waterstones now, which is lovely, and in a lovely magazine called Cygnus Review, linked with Watkins. for their members. So I've been really enjoying doing this with my book, my baby. I want to get it on Amazon. I'm very naughty. I haven't got it on there yet, and I need to. We need help with that. What else? I do give talks. I'm going to Chicago in September, maybe best part of 3 weeks to see clients. That's always something I enjoy doing. It's a more of a steady year. And yes, I would love to write another book. I'd love to write a book. Something I wanted to write many moons ago, and funny how we use expressions linked with astrology without realizing many moons ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And I realized that because timing is queen, that we do inwardly have contracts. It's a heavy word, isn't it? Contracts we set up, I think, with our family line, with our jobs, with our services to the planet. And we have timing when perhaps those contracts are up for renewal or change. I call them soul contracts. But sometimes we don't always know it's a sell-by date, and we keep going with it, and we wonder why we're feeling tired or situated too long. So through astrology, in very everyday words, I would like to write a book on these soul contracts and people's stories. I used to run workshops on that a lot, and people's stories were just riveting, fascinating. How they linked in with their family lines, what they've cleared for them, what they're still perhaps doing in adult years they did as a child and don't even realize it, and helping people to actually clear some of those pathways. So I'd like to write a book called The Contract.
Wow.
The soul perspective of why we've come here, and maybe we don't have to do what we're doing forever. We can actually have like a new act in a play. When does that occur?
That's interesting, Ysanne, because you probably know that I'm writing ordinary people's extraordinary stories for the past almost 3 years, and I find that sometimes I identify the root of the pain, which obviously we are not comfortable to talk about. But once we talk about it and write it down, something happens. It's almost like the universe opens up. That pain suddenly becomes a memory. So it's no longer attached to your present moment. It's almost like a memory. And it's almost like it gives way to release that energy that shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
In between the past and today.
Yes, that's beautiful. I like that. I can't wait to read all that. Wonderful. So going back to what you said about a legacy, I don't think it has to have a particular label. Yes, I've got a book out there. There are thousands and thousands of people on the planet. My children I do a lot of babies' birth charts, now grown. Those are there forever in a sense. They've heard them, even if you still don't have the original tape or now CD, or what it will be in the future, what kind of technology. And know that if you say, when it's written or spoken, something changes. And when people come to me, they may come for a particular reason. Fine, we'll address it. But often it's what they don't know as well. And by actually feeling safe to talk about something, after the session, maybe not immediately, but in the forthcoming time, they find that a leap forward occurs. So absolutely, I mirror what you say.
Yeah. It's like heaven opens up, or something happens in that moment.
And there's a reason why it happens at that time and not before.
Oh.
That's very important too.
That's interesting. You're absolutely right when you said that we don't really have time to pause, to stop reevaluating, our daily tasks or whatever we do, whether it's for breathing, whether it's for eating, whether it's for reading. We don't seem to find the time.
No, we have a lot of pressure on us that we must be busy. There's something wrong if it's not complicated or proving that we're being busy to the world. Some of us are more akin to that than others. People who are quite addictive by nature tend to be more that way. But it's also due to upbringing as well. And also, you know, when we are with ourselves, we're good to ourselves, that makes us quite vulnerable. Makes us quite vulnerable, and people don't like to be vulnerable. So it's easier to keep giving and doing to distract. And that's good, it benefits others, but what about us? And our bodies, which are from nature, I believe our souls are from elsewhere, but our bodies are from nature, need to work like nature does. Never more than nowadays about the cycles. Time for every season.
Oh, you are so beautiful when you say that.
Thank you.
I love that. I really. Now, for those people who would like to know more about you, how should they get in touch? Who should they write to, or where should they go to find you?
Well, I've got a website, which is Ysanne, spelled Ysanne, Ysanne.com. And I have a blog, which is obviously mentioned on the website, which is www.catching-the-wave.com. And I write that every couple of months about what's going on in the heavens and how it's mirroring on Earth and how we can help ourselves. And my email address is info@ysanne.com. That's how to contact.
That's just amazing.
You know, obviously just to talk, to find out about my book, which is on the website. I distribute it. And obviously people are interested in giving talks, workshops. I adore doing that. I'm very, very open to receiving at that level. On just of life, like yourself, I'm full of stories.
Exactly, but I just feel that, you know, because you are such a natural speaker, you are just so open and your heart is just in the right place at the right time, as you say in the book, when it opens up. I think many people would benefit from this. You know, I really see that people would benefit from your just being, you know, from your presence. Like when I met you, I just connected straight away because you're so open, and I think that's what the planet needs now.
Thank you so much. Lovely, lovely to hear. Yes, and I do think there's a lot of wake-up calls at the moment. There's no punishments for anything in that sense. We are having wake-up calls to recognise our true self, our authenticity, not to be a photocopy of somebody else. That's so important at this time. And yes, there's a lot of wars in this world, and wars we don't understand that perhaps are new of consciousness, terrorism. But I think that we need to look within ourselves at the inner fortification, the inner enemies, judges, the critics. We've all got them. To stop and to bring them to the peace table within us. And I think in our small ways, and it's not small, we'll make a difference on the outside.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ysanne, in closing, I'd like to say a very big thank you for saying yes to me to come for this interview. I am gobsmacked. I feel so privileged to know you and to be able to allow you or give you space to share what you are about. I think anyone who joined us on this conversation feels, hopefully like me, that we have grown. We have almost opened up to more potential, to more opportunities during this interview. At least I do. I feel like I've opened up even further. And your presence is just so wonderful. So thank you so much for coming.
Oh, Agata, and thank you for those lovely words, and thank you for this opportunity. You're lovely, lovely lady.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Agata.
You're more than welcome, and hopefully we speak soon.
We will, I'm sure, yes.
Absolutely.
Bye for now, and have a lovely day.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, darling. Bye.